Laughter could be heard within the castle that holds a perverted pig. Murdoch is seen surrounded by multiple village women while drinking wine. He shouts out how delightful, and tells them that when you have power, you can have all the money and all the women you want. He then hits the woman pouring wine into his cup, scolding her for pouring wine the way she was doing it, causing her to scream from being hit. He points a finger at her, telling her that he could control monsters and that it would be better for her to stay on his good side. Daisuke and Lena could be seen entering the castle a floor below where Murdoch was. He soon notices the sounds of their footsteps and turns to look. Lena sees him and immediately draws her sword and calls out to Murdoch. "Oh my! Oh my! Aren't you the knight who ran away after being defeated by the great me?" Murdoch asks. He continues to taunt Lena by assuming that since she came here, it meant that she hasn't learned her lesson yet. Lena shouts back at Murdoch, telling him that today was the day he will release all the women he took as hostages. Murdoch laughs at her reply and made fun of Lena for bringing her flimsy sword as well. He soon starts to laugh out loud upon seeing Daisuke beside her. He had thought that Lena would be bringing a different kind of knight, but instead had brought in a thin, scrawny man in the form of Daisuke. He continues to laugh and states that Lena was really short on help right now. He then grabs onto the village women, telling them that they were now going to watch an interesting show. Murdoch began to cast a spell by chanting the following words: "O draconian kindred adorned with fangs, rise and seek the blood of thine enemies." Monsters clad in armor and swords soon began to arise from behind Daisuke, which catches his attention as he turns to look at what was forming behind him. They were lizard men, which were reptilian warriors whose bodies were cloaked with tough scales. Daisuke screams in a panic at the approaching lizard man, shouting that it was a lizard who has weapons and is running at full speed toward them. The lizard man shows a smile while sticking its tongue out. Murdoch commands his lizard man to go forth and turn Daisuke and Lena into minced meat. The village women who were hostages called out to Lena in concern as they could only watch the battle unfold from above. Lena's mind was filled with the thoughts of the little kid from the village who wanted to be reunited with his mother. As the battle had started, Lena immediately began to chant her prayer with the following words: "O sword, grant me thy strength." After chanting her prayer, she begins to strike back against the lizard man, and soon uses her skill turning slash to transform into a human Beyblade, striking the lizard men down with ease. But another lizard man appears from behind her. Lena manages to block the attack just in time. The lizard man smiles at her as it pushes its blade harder against Lena's sword. Lena's face was filled with struggle as their blades continued to collide. But something knocks the lizard man away from Lena in an instant. It was revealed that the attack had come from Daisuke and his power of America, as his pistol emitted smoke from being recently fired. He continues to unleash the power of freedom onto the lizard man. Seeing this weird power shocks Murdoch as he watches the battle from above. He thinks about what that power was as Daisuke was releasing powerful spells that even he didn't know about. Murdoch continues to watch Daisuke fire upon the lizard man and was alarmed as he was doing it without chanting. It was as if Daisuke was shooting arrows that were invisible to the naked eye. Lena could only stand in awe and exclaimed that Daisuke was really amazing. Murdoch continued to be shocked to see that Daisuke's attacks were effective against his lizard man, a monster whose bites can crush bones and whose scales are tough like armor. He looks at Daisuke firing his weapon and wonders why a powerful monster like the lizard man was being beaten so easily by a strange-looking scrawny man. The village women were amazed and started talking amongst themselves upon seeing this sight. Murdoch shouts at Daisuke, asking who he was and whether he was a sorcerer or perhaps even a spirit user. Daisuke yells back at Murdoch, "My name is Koga Daisuke, took it a trading design planning section chief, a salaryman." Murdoch was confused upon hearing Daisuke's introduction as he wondered what a salaryman was, and he had never heard of such a class before. As Daisuke continued to fire upon the lizard man, he noted that even though the situation was beyond his expectations, with this level of enemy Daisuke didn't think he would have any problems. Daisuke continues to unleash the power of America onto two more lizard men who could not defend against his attacks. Seeing that his lizard man was losing, Murdoch decides to leave and calls his lizard man useless. As he continues to run away, Murdoch decides that he needed to get something else from his private collection instead. He soon arrives in front of a jar and noted that once he uses this one, it would be the end for Daisuke and Lena. Murdoch soon starts to chant another spell onto the jar with the following words: "O avaricious ruler of earth, devour as you please." As the lizard man continued to attack Daisuke, it screams at him, but Daisuke's attacks causes it to block his attacks, but weird tentacles soon appear behind it. The tentacles soon wrap themselves around the lizard man and pull it away from Daisuke, which causes him to be confused. He soon sees that a giant plant-eating monster had been summoned and had pulled on all the nearby lizard men, eating them in the process. The newly summoned monster was called the Man-Eater, a large type of carnivorous plant capable of self-motion and possessing intelligence to trap animals and other living beings. Lena informs Daisuke that it was a carnivorous plant, as both she and Daisuke stood still in shock at this sight. Meanwhile, Murdoch was laughing as he tells them to have a taste of his prized collection. Lena then unleashes a powerful downward strike onto the man-eater towards one of its tentacles. Her attack leaves a deep cut, but it soon begins to heal itself. Lena was alarmed to see that the man-eater could regenerate its wound. Futile. Swords will not work against it, the wounds will instantly regenerate, Murdoch shouts. Daisuke attempts to attack as well and manages to land a few hits on the man-eater. But it soon regenerates from his attacks with ease, much to Daisuke's displeasure. Lena tells him that it was useless to attack as its regenerative power was overwhelming, and it wouldn't have any effect if they didn't use a powerful attack. But a tentacle interrupts her talk with an attack. Daisuke understood Lena's words and thought about something in his closet. He recalls a past memory where Krim told him that his closet and the world he was in were connected and that Daisuke could easily access it at any time. Daisuke soon places his arm into a portal. His arm soon appears with his closet back in Japan, which was filled with various types of weapons. He soon grabs onto a single weapon. He pulls it out of the portal, which began to shine bright like a diamond. No one could stop it until it ate every living being in its surroundings, yelled Murdoch. He tells Lena that they were all finished and that it serves them right. Lena tried to attack the man-eater but was struck back. She sees a man calling out to her, asking if she was all right. Lena whispers the name Oliver upon seeing this sight. But Daisuke's face soon appears, which startles her. She calls out to him just as the tentacles started to appear behind him. She tells him to watch out as the tentacles move fast and closer to them. But he turns around and blasted the tentacles away in a single shot. The tentacles were blown away and had stopped regenerating. Murdoch was stunned and shocked to see this happening. He looks at the new weapon in Daisuke's hands and wondered what the hell it was to stop the man-eater's regeneration ability. Daisuke introduces his new baby as the Franchi Spas 12, a shotgun manufactured by the Lughi Fracci, a company in Italy. He reloads the shotgun and states that it is a special-purpose automatic shotgun Spas. Used by military and police forces alike, it can unload an unlimited number of 12-gauge shells. It has a low penetration power, but at a closer distance, it can obliterate your average targets. Almost all the tentacles of the man-eater had been blown away by Daisuke's shotgun, but he continues to unleash the fury of freedom, citing that nations even called the Spas miniature cannons, a weapon exclusively made for close-quarter combat. With this, it can't regenerate its wounds easily, Daisuke tells Lena. He then asks Lena if the man-eater had any weak points, and she tells him that it does. As she charges towards the man-eater, she explained to Daisuke that the plant monsters always have core organs called stem cells or regenerative points deep within themselves. Daisuke would be able to defeat it once he destroys it. She then turns back into a human Beyblade to attack the man-eater. Her attack manages to reveal the core part of the man-eater. She then turns to Daisuke to inform him that it was now open to attack. Daisuke immediately leaps up and lands right above the core of the man-eater with his shotgun pointed at it. He looks at it and tells the man-eater that it was over. Fire erupts from the tip of his shotgun as Daisuke lets out one final blow of freedom onto the man-eater's core. Once the core was gone, the man-eater started to disappear. Murdoch screams out in horror over the loss of his prized collection. But he was more startled to see that Lena was standing right in front of him. He begs Lena to give him a minute, and that he would give her money or everything, even willing to go from 30% of his loot from the village to half of it. But Lena didn't care and struck him straight in his face, causing him to fly backward with his orb destroyed. Cheers of joy could be heard in the village as they realized that the village women had finally returned. A child quickly rushes into the embrace of his mother as Lena smiles at this interaction. Meanwhile, Murdoch was tied up by a villager who promised to hand him over to the officials. The little boy called Rocco went up to Lena and thanked her for returning his mother to him, bringing a smile to her face. Rocco then asks if Lena was going to leave the village now and begged her to stay with them instead. Lena apologizes to him and tells him that she was traveling to look for someone and could not stay for too long. As Daisuke and Lena left the village and were walking in the forest, Daisuke asks Lena if she was traveling to search for someone. She tells him that she was looking for the man that had raised her and trained her to become a swordsman. The man was called the White Knight Oliver. She explained that one day he had just left his sword and disappeared, even though he promised to always stay to watch over her to become a proper knight. Lena's face was saddened as she tells Daisuke that she still had not become a proper knight. Daisuke remained silent upon hearing her story. He then asks if he could help her in searching for that person. He tells her that he had this habit of not being able to leave someone in need. Lena was blushing upon hearing this and immediately tells him that she would not refuse his help at all. Daisuke then turns to leave and informs her that he would come back again after his work was done. She thanks Daisuke in her mind as the portal he used slowly disappears. Up in the skies was Krim, who was watching over them. She grins and notes that she had chosen Daisuke as the right choice. Back in modern-time Japan, Daisuke is seen stretching his arms in the office. His co-workers commented that he looked like he was in a great mood recently. They wondered if he had finally met someone. A man from another world and a traveling female knight. The encounter of the two would lead to events that would change the fate of her world. A port is seen with workers carrying boxes and barrels with a ship docked. A portal suddenly appears in the middle of the port. The workers were confused to see the sudden appearance of a bright light. A foot suddenly appears from the portal. The workers scream upon seeing Daisuke exiting from the portal. Daisuke had finally returned to Lena's world at a port. His face was filled with surprise as he screams out that it was the sea with his arms open wide. Lena appears and greets him with a smile on her face. He greets her back with a wave. Lena explains that they were in the port city of Sessanorma. As they walk through the city together, Lena explains to Daisuke that due to the flow of goods that naturally came to the port, the people who wait for their ship's departure also spend their nights in this place. She then tells him that there might be a clue about the White Knight Oliver over there. Daisuke agrees with her as he says that with this many people, there was somebody who was bound to know something about him. A big man dressed like a jester was standing beside a signboard. He yells out to everyone to gather around at the Colosseum for the challenge battles. He holds a bell in his hand and continues to ring it, asking everyone if there was anyone here who feels confident about their abilities, as the champion of the challenge battles will get 100 pieces of gold. Daisuke was curious about what the jester was saying, so he asked Lena, who explains to him that it was a participant recruitment advertisement for matches in the Colosseum. Daisuke was happy to see that an actual real Colosseum existed here. Lena then tells him that just as its name suggests, it was originally built to hold shows and contests alike. And ever since the new lord took over, it was repurposed to hold matches. It became a betting ground, so the public order there got worse over time. As the crowd grew bigger, Lena had to inch closer to Daisuke, telling him that she had never heard anything good from that place and suggesting to him to stay out of that place as well. A hooded figure appears from behind them, is moving quickly in their direction. The hooded figure bumps heavily into Lena, causing her to fall toward Daisuke while screaming. Daisuke immediately grabs onto her, telling her that he got her just as the hooded figure dashes past them. Daisuke looks at the hooded figure and sees that it was a tan-skinned woman who had a tattoo on her face. He continues to stare at her just as she stares at him back. Soon the mysterious lady was seen rushing away from the both of them. Daisuke finally asks if Lena was alright, causing her to be flustered, but assures him that she was fine. She bends over to apologize to Daisuke for grabbing onto him as someone had bumped into her. Daisuke assures her that it was okay. The mysterious hooded woman could be seen bumping into more people as she ran through the crowd as Daisuke continued to stare at her in wonder. They soon entered Sango's eatery. When a delicious plate of food had been served on the table, it was one serving of wood-grilled nut steak. Daisuke exclaims out loud that the food looks delicious. Lena was happy to hear that and told him to consider this meal as a thank you from before. She explains that the nut was a common large fish that swims near the water's surface, and the wood-grilled steak is basically a local specialty. Lena then shouts out thanks for the meal. She recites a prayer with the following words: "For the bounty given by the ocean and the land, I am grateful." Daisuke on the other hand claps his hands together saying thanks for the meal. They soon each took a bite of the food. Daisuke shouted out delicious, and compared the taste of the nut with mackerel as they resemble each other a lot. He holds a fork with a piece of the nut up in the air, telling Lena that he believes it would go well with ginger soy or ponzu sauce. Daisuke really wanted to eat the nut dish with Japanese sake. Lena too was enjoying the food as well as she screams out delicious. She soon notices that Daisuke went silent and asked him if there was something wrong. He commented that Lena's face became like that when she smiled. Hearing this from Daisuke made her fluster as she asks him if he finds it weird. Daisuke chuckles upon hearing that response and tells her no. As they continued their meal, Lena tells him that today was her treat and wanted him to order as much as he liked. But she soon notices that something was wrong. Lena began to look all over the table and at the ground in a panicked manner, causing Daisuke to call out to her in concern. With tears in her eyes, she tells Daisuke that her wallet had gone missing, which shocks him. Lena then recalls the mysterious hooded figure that had bumped into her before, wondering if that was the moment her wallet was stolen. A tan-skinned woman with long ears and a tattoo on her face was tossing a bag of money in the air, noting that the knight who was Lena was surely loaded. She then recalls the outfit of Daisuke, who she saw before, and noticed that what he wore was strange, and that inside the bag of money was a strange talisman, which was Daisuke's calling card. She picks out the card with her fingers and notes that she had never seen such letters and wonders who exactly Daisuke was. Back at the restaurant, Lena was bending over to apologize to Daisuke for losing the precious talisman that he had given her before. But he tells her that it was okay as he still got plenty of it. Daisuke then assures her to not worry and that he would pay for the meal instead. The restaurant owner looks stunned upon seeing a Japanese $10,000 bill in her hand. She flicks it away and yells at Daisuke, asking him what the heck was with this useless piece of worthless. Daisuke screamed out upon seeing her throw away his $10,000 yen. The restaurant owner yells at him and tells him that they only accepted copper and silver coins. Daisuke was flustered over this blunder and then takes out his handphone. He then asked if they could accept wireless transactions instead. Seeing this made the restaurant owner even angrier. Some time had passed and Lena was now seen in a waitress outfit carrying food and drinks. She tells the customers that she was sorry for the long wait. The customers go crazy after her seeing that she was cute. More customers soon asked her to take their orders. People outside of the store soon heard rumors that the restaurant had hired a new cute waitress. The restaurant owner was seen handing over food and telling Lena that she was going to work her to the bone to pay off her tab. Lena agrees and assures her that she will do her best. An axe is seen swinging down hard and cutting wood. An old man smoking a pipe praises Daisuke for his muscles. Daisuke turns to thank him for the compliment. But the old man was grateful for Daisuke as he had saved him from doing the work as he was old and wrinkly now. Soon after they were done repaying their services, Lena once again apologizes to Daisuke because of her stolen wallet. But he assures her that it was fine since he worked for his own meal and enjoyed it. Daisuke then thought about how he should think of a way to earn money in this world, or else it would get inconvenient for them in the future. He thinks about how in a game you would earn money by defeating enemies, but was a weird system now that he thought about it. A man is seen slamming his fist hard on the table, yelling out, "What the F, you charged me for the drink that I haven't even taken a sip of yet." This conflict catches the attention of the mysterious hooded figure. The restaurant owner tells the man that it was his own fault since he spilled the drink. But the man was firm and told her that he would let it slide if she doesn't charge him for the food as well. But she yells at him asking him if he was going to dine and dash and that she wouldn't allow it to happen. Hearing the words eat and run made the man furious, causing him to pull out his sword and point it toward her. The restaurant owner panics and yells, "What are you doing to the man?" Lena sees this and calls out to the owner with concern. She then grabs onto her sword and tells the man to stop it as she would be his opponent. Daisuke suddenly appears between the man and the owner. Both the owner and the mysterious hooded figure were surprised to see him there. The man yells at Daisuke asking him to scram, but Daisuke stood still, telling him that he was bothering the others and to be quiet. The man was angry upon Daisuke asking him to be quiet, and rushes towards him preparing to strike Daisuke down. The owner screams at Daisuke to get out of the way as he was going to get himself killed. But once again the power of America reveals itself as Daisuke shoots the sword out of the man's hand. The man holds his arm in pain after having been shot by Daisuke. The mysterious hooded figure was stunned to see what had just happened. Lena rushes over to Daisuke with concern, but he assures her that he was fine. He informs her that he had shot the man with a rubber bullet. A past memory with Krim showed that she had explained to Daisuke that aside from being able to turn his airsoft guns into real firearms, he would be able to use any munition type at will. Daisuke was surprised to learn that and remarked that it was convenient. Krim tells him to use it as he sees fit. Back at the restaurant, the other members of the man's group join to attack Daisuke. But Daisuke manages to defend himself by shooting at them. He explains that this type of munition, which is made out of rubber, was developed in order to suppress riders. And it may have a shorter range compared to metal projectiles, but it packs damage comparable to the punch from a heavyweight boxer. He tells the men that tried to attack him that the pain will render them unconscious but that they won't die. The men beg for forgiveness and promise to pay their fees. The mysterious hooded woman exclaims that Daisuke was amazing. He immediately turns to the owner to apologize for leaving his work at the back. But she slaps him hard on the back, telling him that it was thanks to him that she got to live another day. She then tells Lena and Daisuke that they could use the rooms on the second floor. Lena was happy to hear that from the owner. The owner informs them that since they were lacking workers here, Lena and Daisuke could stay and work till they have gathered enough money. Lena is seen enjoying her bubble bath in the tub. She looks out at the window wondering what would happen, but instead were saved. After chopping down a lot of wood, Daisuke looks at his watch and realizes that it was getting late and needed to go back. But someone appears behind him, causing him to ask who it was. The tan-skinned woman had appeared once again and asked Daisuke if he was a magic user. Daisuke was alarmed to see her from before. She then reveals the bag of money, asking him if he was looking for it. Daisuke recognizes it as Lena's purse and asked her to return it. But she tells him to come at her just like how he did with the scumbag from before. Hearing this made Daisuke silent until he turns away from her, telling her that he will not attack someone unarmed like her. This stuns her for a moment before she tells him that he was quite a naive guy, which she doesn't hate. She then leans in close to Daisuke while touching his chest. She asks him if he would come with her to the Colosseum. Daisuke was curious about the Colosseum. She wanted him to fight against all the warriors there together and win. Aim for the winning prize with her. Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.